Hey folks, name's Game. How's everybody doing? Hope you guys are doing good. I, on the other hand, am relatively decent, and I have a little surprise for you today. I was going to do this for a while, but yeah. Anyway, I figured I might as well show something off to all of you today. A little console, if it is, one that released earlier this month. The Nintendo Switch, as you can see. So, without further ado, I will more or less show it off. Yeah, so the really big thing about the Switch is obviously it's a little gimmick that Nintendo likes to do with all of their consoles. So simply put, ooh, what's this? How strange. Simply put, the Nintendo Switch has the Switch function where it can be docked into obviously a dock and be playable on a widescreen TV, or be playable on the little on the screen itself. You can barely see that. There you go. Just going to turn this off real quick and unhook our little devices here, which I will go over in a minute. And simply put, take a look at this. So there's a lot to decipher about this little thing. On the bottom we have the slot for the charging into the dock. On the sides we have the locations for what are simply called Joy-Cons. We have the screen here. On the top we have the power as well as volume buttons. We have a slot for the headset. Very, very hard to see. You can barely see that, but it is there. We have the slot for the game card, which is right here. And on the back we have something relatively unique about this. It's a little bit difficult to open, and it just opened and closed itself because it is a pile of scum, and I cannot open this thing for the life of me. But you can actually stand this upon tables and the like, as you can see right here. So there you go. It's one of the more interesting things about the Switch, and in that slot as well, forgot to show this off, is the space for the micro SD. So there you go. It's arguably one of my favorite things about this little thing. It just has a lot of function in itself, and we're just going to put that down for now and take a look at the individual little Joy-Cons here. And the Joy-Cons, similar to the Switch itself, have two functions. They are combined a controller, and separate they are individual controllers. And you can sort of see here and such. So this is the right Joy-Con, and you may notice on the top here little buttons that function as your LNRs when separate. So you play obviously like this, and these buttons here just simply indicate connection to the Switch as well. This button here is this tiny little tiny little button here, more or less is the statement of if it's connected. This button in the back is simply to attach and detach the Joy-Con from the console itself. We have the R and obviously secondary R buttons on the back. We have ABYX. We have one of the several C sticks, which I believe is the only one that can do Amiibo support. We have the home button for obviously setting up to the home menu, and we have the plus button, which more or less is on Nintendo consoles since obviously the Wii. And we also have the sensor bar here, as you can see. It's a little interesting little doodad. I haven't really used it all that much, I don't think. And on the secondary Joy-Con, the one for the left, we have the same mini LNR buttons that are more or less just fade into the console, simply because they're not in use. We have another analog. We have another set of ABYX, which are simply controller pad things. Yeah, just arrow keys, more or less. And we also have the set of L and secondary L buttons. We also have the minus and, interestingly enough, a camera button, which doesn't have much use for right now. You can take pictures, but I don't think you can share them on most things. Then again, I haven't tried. And we also have with the set odd little controller here, or just a dock for the controllers themselves, or the Joy-Con, to simply develop into the Switch controller. So there you go. And when connecting it to the device, you'll have little buttons pop. The screen will show. Simple as that. And now I will hook this on over to the dock itself, and we will take a look-see there. So you should be seeing the Switch right now over there, and let's just take a look-see. So we have a lot of different little functions here and there. We have pages for the individual profile, friends list. You can add friends and user settings as well. You have the time in the top right. We also have the individual games as well, which you can download at any point on the shop, which I will get to soon. Now, when it comes to simply put anything regarding the Switch, when it comes to just say switching games and whatnot, only these functions on the top row will actually, quote, kick you out of whatever game you're in and move you into them. These functions on the bottom will not. So if I go into system settings and just immediately head back out, as you can see, it doesn't really do much, which is probably one of the nicest things about it, in all honesty. When we check news, it's just a general rundown of little bits and bobs on the Switch, from games that have come out to Amiibo to some slightly more advanced functions. The shop, if it hopefully works, will let you obviously see everything that is available. And interestingly enough, there are two ways to actually head in. The first way, and it doesn't work, fantastic, but the first way would just be to input a password. The second way to just ignore a password. And yeah, I believe each of the methods, or at least the password, is per person, but I don't entirely know. Album is obviously where the pictures will go, and I can take one right now. Obviously I'm able to take one, but I can't take a picture right now, and there you go. It is in here. And these are the other pictures are just random games available. Controllers will let you just set up the controllers and such, let you change orders, whatever. System settings let you do whatever you need to do when it comes to everything on the system. Parental controls, which Nintendo has implemented because obviously you gotta watch out for your kids, or just have them be on a timer or whatnot. You have data management, you have internet connections, support, amiibos, everything in between. And we'll try the shop again. If nothing happens, then simply put, we'll just move on with our lives, and there you go. I tried again, it didn't work. We're just gonna cut that out, but there you go. That's more or less a rundown on that, and yeah. So now for some general final statements. There are a lot of, shall we say, accessories for the Switch in the long run, from controllers to everything, really. And we will take a look at those, or just get a rundown. Some of the accessories make some general sense, others might be a little bit too expensive. It really all comes down to who you are. First is the Nintendo Switch Pro controller, which is $70. It's a little bit expensive. It might have actually gone down, to be honest, but more or less, if you want just a standardized controller, that's the way to go. It actually might be more than 70. No, it is 70. Sorry. We also have sets of Joy-Con controllers, and you can also buy individual ones as well. I don't see much reason for this, to at least buy individuals unless they have broken, but if you are taking care of the console itself as well as your controllers, you should be fine. There's also a charging grip, which just simply allows you to charge your Joy-Con. It is similar in style to one of these. In all case in point, however, there's not much need for that, because, simply put, the Joy-Cons have an extremely long battery life in themselves. I believe well over 20 hours. I'll put the actual time up on the screen, and you can also, simply put, just charge them by putting them into the Switch itself, which is a pretty dandy little thing. You can also buy individual Joy-Con straps, which I didn't actually show off because I didn't feel like I need to, but simply put, they are like this, and similar to anything regarding the Wii. They just allow you to hold the controllers without breaking them. And I believe they are per thing. But as you can see, it just sets it up like so. The buttons become a little bit more specific, and you can obviously strap it onto your hand like that. And you can buy those individually. You can also buy them in the colors. You also have the AC adapter for the Switch itself, or at least the dock. You have capable of carrying case and screen protector for the Switch. You have a dock set, which I believe is about $70, but you are obviously buying a spare dock. You only really need at the most one, unless in reference to individual Joy-Con something happens, you break it, whatever. And then the last one, at least on the Nintendo site where I'm checking these at, is the Joy-Con wheel, which would be for Mario Kart and whatnot, but obviously that's not coming until April. When it comes to everything about the Switch, it's relatively simplistic, I'd say. And yeah, so now a few final statements in regards to some of the more other specific stuff. The Switch itself is a grand total of $300, which may seem a bit expensive, but when it comes to Nintendo consoles, it's actually slightly more-ish, and to the point of it's not actually all that bad. The most expensive you could get a Wii U was $300 in itself, and in most general statements, it was the must-buy just due to its increased size. The Switch does have two variants. It does have two variants, which are just standard gray Joy-Con and a red left and a blue right Joy-Con. Both of them act completely the same. Both are $300, so all in all, it doesn't really matter. You have some decent game selection when the Switch first came out. A couple of repeats from prior consoles, which I believe were Just Dance 2017, and Skylanders Imaginators, depending on who you are, good and bad. Might be something worth picking, I don't know. Super Bomberman R was generally considered average, could have been better, but it also could have been a lot worse. 1-2 Switch was more or less considered the biggest disappointment, just because, you know, Wii Sports, or just, yeah, like, it's basically Wii Sports for the Switch, and it's $50. Yeah, no, that's a big fat no. Breath of the Wild obviously is considered the game to buy no matter what. When you buy a Switch, it's generally considered one of the best games of the Switch so far, and who knows, it might be Game of the Year, but that might be a bit pushing it, because it's obviously March. We have 9 other months to go. So, in conclusion, I think the Switch is honestly just quite good. I think it's going to be relatively solid in everything that it does. And yeah, can't wait to see it do a lot in general. So, with all that said, I will see you guys later. Peace out and bye.